Hello, all, and welcome to Pro Wrestling Inside and Out. Brent West, along with Jack Lord over there. Rodney down below us, Rodney West. And we're going to go back to our top 100 list. A lot of things have happened in professional wrestling, and one of the major things, Jack, is Scott Hall passed away. I believe it was Tuesday afternoon, wasn't it? Or is it Monday afternoon?
Monday afternoon.
Yeah, this is Tuesday, isn't it?
Yep.
All right. Jack, what was the...
May I suggest a calendar for you?
Maybe so.
He over the weekend he fell, broke his hip. I wasn't sure if he had surgery or not. I guess he did. And anyway, he wound up having blood clots from that and had three pretty big heart attacks in a row. And he was put on life support, and then the family agreed to take him off yesterday. They took him off about noon, and he lasted till almost 6 hours after they took him off. He passed away shortly before WWE came on the air last night.
Just a sad situation. Scott Hall, the first time I ever saw him, I believe he was the Diamond Stud for AWA. I don't think that I remember seeing him before then. And then he came to Continental for a while. I did not realize that he had been there until I watched videos later on.
Yes.
I was there. But
I remember when he and Dan Spivey were American Starship in the Carolinas.
I just don't remember him being Continental. I just don't. Rodney remembers him.
I sure do. Yes, I did. I was back in the back, and Robert Fuller asked me, he said, what is Scott Hall's finish? I said, I don't know. I'll have to go ask him. So I went over there and asked him, hey, Scott Roberts wants to know what your finish is. He said, well, hold on. I have so many. I said, okay. I said, well, you might want to narrow that down because Robert wants to know what your finish is. So I went back to Robert and I said, hey, Robert, he said, what did he tell you? I said, yeah, he has so many he can't pick. He said, Lord. So he had to go back there. Hey, I said, he can't narrow it down. So he's got to pick one.
I did not realize, honestly, I don't know where I was. I must have not have been watching the matches. I must have just been so enthralled in what I was doing.
They were there. He was there at the same time the Rockers were coming in. We had seen Nick Bockwinkel. I think Nick Bockwinkel came through at the same time.
He wasn't there long, though, was he?
No. It's about there maybe 2 weeks maximum. That's what I thought. I think he was only there for one TV taping, and it was it.
Just a tremendous wrestler. He was great at what he did. I thought the Razor Ramon gimmick was just tailor fit for Scott Hall. Yeah. I just thought it was tremendous, and the stuff he did for the NWO, it's just going to be rememberable stuff for no doubt. Scott Hall will be missed, and only 63 years old.
Yeah,
and that's very young to pass on, but he will be.
We're the same age, so I totally agree. Far too young.
Yeah, so we'll talk more about Scott Hall in the weeks to come, because he did some tremendous things in professional wrestling and some very memorable.
Let's go ahead and hit some of the comments, because there are a lot of people want to talk about Scott Hall.
All right. Let's go all the way back up to the top. Richard Hood, rest in peace, Scott Hall. Richard Hood is with us. Good evening, gentlemen. Glenn Allen Shelton. Hello, all. Wendy Harkins. Good evening, guys. Hope all is well. Rest in peace, Scott Hall. Charles Bellflower is with us. How you doing, sir? Carl Smith is with us as well. Hello from the Mid-South. Rest in peace, Scott Hall. Glenn Allen Shelton, rest in peace. David Bice. David Bice is with us. And good evening, guys. Sad about Scott Hall. Yes. Jason Mundy, rest in peace, Scott Hall. Sean Goodwin as well. Just a lot of wrestling fans. James William Lawrence III. Hello, gentlemen. Rest in peace, Scott Hall. Mickey Mayfield is also, hello, gentlemen. Rest in peace, Scott Hall. NWO for life. Changed it changed really the direction of pro wrestling. The NWO did, and that's something many people that probably don't remember that he was AWA Tag Team Champions with Kurt Hennig. I don't know how long that was. I do remember it. Would this have been around 1987?
I think so.
Because I think it would have been about the time that he came for that 2 weeks to Continental. I never would have understood why he was just there for 2 weeks. Maybe he was going to come in and maybe.
Well, he started, I believe, in '84 with Crockett's with Crockett in the Carolinas, but they weren't used a whole lot. Him and Dan Spivey, and he wound up moving to Central States, and he really didn't get a big push at all. Until he got to WWE. I mean, he had that brief push with AWA, but he saw the writing on the wall that AWA was not going to be in business long, so he took the opportunity.
Now, did he show up in WCW for a while as well?
Yes,
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
the Diamond Stud was with WCW. He was
but now before that, he was in WCW because he basically was one of those guys that worked the house shows, but didn't really get much on TV coverage at all. And even when he did, they just beat him,
which was sad.
Yeah.
He was a big old boy.
Yeah.
Even back then, he was a big old boy.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah. Well, go ahead. The comments are coming.
Sean Goodwin, Razor Ramon also.
Yeah.
Glenn Allen back in the 80s. Glenn Allen Shelton, he wrestled in Memphis as well.
Yeah, I watched the match of his yesterday.
Rick Brooks, hello guys. Richard Hood said that Scott Hall changed his look when he shaved his mustache, dyed his hair, and lost some weight.
Yeah, he really did slim down. He was deceptive once he slimmed down. He didn't look as big as he had been before, but he was really tall.
Yeah. Scott Hall, Jason Mundy said Scott Hall worked part-time on the field crew for the Charlotte O's when he started in Mid-Atlantic. Wow, the Crockett's also own the O's, a minor league baseball team.
Well, the reason that he worked that job was because they didn't want him and Spivey on the road all the time. So to keep him a job, they sent him to work at the ball field.
But he was thinking to himself, I came here to wrestle. Now I'm working.
Yeah.
Rick Brooks, it really hit me hard. Yes, that was a hard one, especially as young as he was. One of the greatest, Jason Languille, Scott Hall, rest in peace. Hello from the Maritimes in Canada. Dr. Philbo Grice, hello, everyone. Paul said some good news. We had a live wrestling event in whatever we picked the name. Last Saturday night, it was a sellout. Bad news because it sold out. I couldn't attend. I guess that I have to learn how to buy tickets online. The return in April.
That's awesome.
What wrestling was? Who came to this area that it sold out? Vinny Vegas. Yes, that was Kevin Nash, by the way. It was I could tell you a lot of stories on that time frame.
Oz.
Yes, Oz. Yes. James William Lawrence, he did join NWA Crockett and had a match with Muda. I just watched it earlier today. Yep. They just missed the boat on Scott Hall, and once he got there, Vince McMahon knew what to do with him in WWE. And
the thing was when he got to Vince, the whole idea for the character, all Vince had was a name. He was the one who came up with the idea for the character, which was I can't remember the movie, Scarface.
Yeah.
And Vince and Pat Patterson had never watched the movie, so they thought he was brilliant coming up with this character, and they just kind of rode with it, and let him develop all that.
I thought it was really good when he asked with the toothpick. He said, "What do you want me to do? You want me to pick your teeth with my toothpick?" Just great stuff. He was so good at that. He was just tremendous. Jason Mundy said American Starship, Eagle, and Coyote. I don't remember which one, Hall or Spivey. Do you remember, Jack?
Hall was Eagle, I believe.
Glenn said
I
sorry.
may
That
be
was
wrong about
I
that.
believe that was Spivey because we went
Yeah.
over him. Because we were
Yep.
commenting on the
That's what-
electricity in the air with the American
Yeah.
Starship Eagle
Yeah,
on
the
World Championship
I
Wrestling.
think you made us. I think you
yeah.
made a comment about him being a dead eagle or
was
something.
it was absolutely electrifying.
David Bice said, when are you guys going to try another show? Well, we'll get into that. We'll get into that after we do a couple other things. But so stay tuned. We're going to talk about that, and going to talk about some conversations that I had with several big time people in professional wrestling, and basically what they told me. And me and Jack have already talked about this, what we were told. So we'll get to that. So stay tuned. Tell everybody stay tuned. We're going to tell you what we were told, and so it was a little stiff. It was like it was almost like getting the shots from like a Stan Hansen, or maybe a Vader. Those shots really hurt, and we'll tell you about those as we get into the show. So tell everybody, text them up, tell them to listen. We're going to tell some stories after this. I met Scott when his son Cody wrestled for a show I worked at in Carrollton, Georgia. Scott was so good to me and my kids. I was very fortunate to sit down and talk to Scott a few times. He was a nice guy. Kevin Nash, not so much, but Scott Hall was. What do you think about William Regal and AEW, Jack?
I think any thing that Regal still does in front of the camera is a great thing. I like what they're doing with him. I don't know the extent of if he's just on camera. Hopefully, they're using his talents behind the scenes too. I mean, he knows his stuff.
Rodney?
Oh, he's on AEW?
Yeah.
Okay.
He put together Daniel Bryan and Moxley. John Moxley is a tag team.
He was tremendous at what he did. Even that 22-hour promo, as they call it these days, these young kids say today. Even if he did that, what I say 22. It was a long one. I don't know how long it was, but I think he apologized to everybody. Said he went over.
Yeah,
over
he did
time.
go over. But it was good.
Yeah, it was good. So I hope they do some stuff with him. I know, I really do. But Sammy Guevara, on the other hand, he does a triple somersault into a table and gets up, and the match continues. So yeah, I guess the next thing you have to do is
it's really all funny. It's all great, and it's all great, and it's all funny until you're in a neck brace in a Birmingham hospital.
Yeah, this is true. Let's see where we going now. Did he hold all tag team titles in the AWA, WE, NWA, and WCW?
I don't remember him being. Was he a tag champ in WWE?
I don't think he was. He was the Intercontinental champion, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know if he ever had the WA tag team champions or WWF at the time. I know he was AWA tag team champions with Kurt Hennig. I'm not for sure. And what were they tag team champions in WCW? Kevin Nash and him.
I'll have to look.
I don't know. I slept since then, so I don't know.
I mean, you would think that they were as dominant tag team as they were.
Richard Hood said, "I remember when Scott put over the 1, 2, 3 kid."
Yeah, that was great.
It was tremendous, and the way they did it made sense. It made sense in how they went about doing that. Good evening, gentlemen, from Joe Hamlin. Richard Hood, I saw Scott at a APCW show in Douglasville. He was a gentleman. He really was. He really was very nice. Hello from Greece. From I'm not for sure I'm going to even try to say that name. Just Y'all want to
Fortis
try it?
Cordados.
All right, that's it.
Fotis Cordados. I hope I got it right.
Glenn Allen Shelton said prayers to Big E. Yes, all our prayers
That
go
was,
to him.
it was awful.
It was a horrible thing, and we've talked about that move that really should not be done because it's not a controlled move. It's really and truly, it's the guy on the other end almost has to do all the work, and unless they do the work with you, that just does not come out good. I don't think. They have a lot of moves. A pile driver, they won't let them do in WWF or WWE.
And then the result is a pile driver. That's exactly what he got.
For goodness sakes, they'll do them moves and fall on tables. It just makes no sense. What do you think, Jack? What do you think about the moves?
Oh, I agree. I just, for a guy that size too, big guys don't need to be doing stuff like that. I saw Kevin Owens take that bump on the ring apron last night, a backdrop on the ring apron. And I'm thinking, why do you do that? I mean, I know why he does. He's told to. But, here you are a couple of weeks from Mania. This is one of your big matches or big segments anyway that you're plugging with Stone Cold Steve Austin. And you're doing stuff that he could be injured and miss the whole thing. I just don't get it.
Was you talking to me?
What about the move?
Yeah, we have said this over and over again, and the answer, and I'll just ask the question: was it worth it? Hey, Mr. McMahon, was it worth it? Was it worth it? I mean, half the stuff that you're having to jump off the ropes, through the ropes, off the top rope, into the crowd, onto tables, is it worth it? I say it's not. I bet you right about now, Mr. Big E is now saying it's not worth it either. And it could very well be. I read a report earlier that this could be the end of his career.
It could be. Now that report also comes from that was not his doctor. That was a doctor who had dealt with similar situations. So just
we hope that's not the case.
Yeah, I hope he can come back.
Me too. That's
because I friend of friends. I've never met him, but I've got a friend that does know him very well. And talks about he's probably one of the nicest guys in the industry today.
Tremendous talent. Absolutely tremendous talent. And I hate to see it. I really do. I hate to see that.
Glenn Allen Shelton, the Outsiders. Yes, tremendous stuff, by the way. That bringing them to World Championship Wrestling was superb. The only problem was they didn't know where to go after they did the 16 weeks into it when they had the NWO 33.5.6. Just all them different groups just killed it.
Which is worse, the different groups of the NWA was the next rendition of the Four Horsemen?
It's probably the same. I think it's all the same. I got the reference on that comment, Rodney. I'm not for sure what comment he made.
That was the one we were talking about, doing the moonsault onto the table and he gets up. And I ask, it's all fun and games until you have to go to the hospital in a neck brace.
Kevin Nash and Scott Hall held the WCW tag team belts multiple occasions. Our friend from Greece there says, rest in peace, Razor Ramon. Richard Hood also said prayers for Big E.
Yes.
Terrence Goodwin. Do you guys think that the NWA will ever become a big time promotion again? I'm going to say no. And I'll ask Jack and Neil in just a minute. My second question is, do you think that Triple H will ever leave WWA and start his own promotion? I'm going to say no to that as well. Thank you guys for answering my questions. Enjoying your show. All right, Jack, what do you think? NWA going to be a promotion?
At a level of WWE, I'm just going to be frank. I don't think anybody's going to reach WWE's level. And I don't know that NWA will reach AEW's level. Can they be significant and last for years to come? I think they can. They've got some good talent. They've built a fan base, and I think they can build it even more over time. I like what they do. I just don't. I don't know their business model. Maybe it's not the best.
Rodney, what do you think? NWA, will it? Let's see. What did he say? Would it be a big time promotion again?
No. Not another business model they're currently under. The idea of trying to do a national show, as we've talked about over and over again, it's been done. It's been done over and over again. Their true NWA's true calling would be grassroots, bringing those shows to the towns, and that's just my opinion of it. I mean, just if you want to think about how Jim Crockett built his, I'm talking about not Jim Crockett Jr., Jim Crockett Sr. built his companies. He did it one market at a time, and that's just the way they're going to have to take.
And then you got to say, how did Jim Crockett Jr. destroy it trying to run the world?
Because he went out of his comfort zone. He had no business doing that.
No. All right, Jack, I'll ask that. So, with Triple H, will he ever leave WWE and start his own promotion?
I could see him leaving WWE. Now, starting his own promotion, I don't think he's got the health to do it anymore. But also, he doesn't have the money to do it. Now, he's a multi-millionaire, but it takes to build a company at that huge level, you've got to have billions of dollars. That's how AEW is where they're at. You know, we joke about that. How do you make $1 million as a professional wrestling promoter? You start with $2 million because you're going to lose a bunch of money getting there.
Right.
And he doesn't have that kind of money personally. Now, is there investors out there? Maybe there are. I don't know. I'm not saying it couldn't happen. I just don't see it happen. And I'd love to see him over a company.
Do you think he would leave WWE, start his own promotion?
No.
Yeah. I don't think so.
I think a lot of the friction that we quote here about is just noise.
We'll get into that in just a second.
I really just think it's just noise and publicity. I don't think it has anything to do
as we
with
talk about
reality.
Promoting wrestling today and promoting wrestling back in the territory days, it's a completely different situation. And we're going to talk about it in just a moment. Glenn Allen Shelton said that was supposed to be a suplex botch. Michael Barr, how you doing, Michael? Hello.
Oh, is he saying that was supposed to be that way? Is that what he's saying?
I would hope to.
I'm not really sure. I mean, the move was what it was supposed to be. Yeah. But as to whether, I don't know whose fault it was. Honestly,
I don't think it's any. I think he just didn't tuck and fall on his back. He come right straight down on his head.
Glenn,
and I don't believe that it was. I don't believe that it was intentional, because if you watch Raw last night with Bianca and backseat Becky, you would see that they showed the injury part of that where she was pulled into the post. We never saw Big E on camera after he hit his head. No. So I don't really think that was a part of, unless they're doing it differently, which would be smart, but I don't see it.
He's really lucky that he didn't do draws from the neck down. And that's true, because that happened to him. And it was on, I believe it might have been on Raw that he got hurt. I'm not for sure. Joel Bateman, hello, everyone. I prayed for Big E to be well soon as well.
That's
bad. That was bad. I watched it once and couldn't watch it again. I couldn't stomach to see that again. I just can't stand to watch people get hurt anymore. You know, there was a time it didn't bother me, but as older I get, because I know I can just fall in the living room in here and break something. So I just know I don't want to. How many times has Triple H come back from career-ending injuries? A couple of times.
Yeah, at least a couple of times. Of course, what he's going through now is not an injury.
Yeah.
So that's a totally different
I
situation.
think it's called dealing with wrestlers, and that was the possible problem with him. Rodney, what do you think? How many career injuries? Because it's been about 3, hasn't it?
I remember. I only remember the one, and of course, he and Stephanie came to the show in Birmingham for the Terry Gordy show, and that was a tremendous night. And we thanked them for participating in that. Michael Hayes was there; it was just tremendous. Yeah. And I think that's the only one I remember, and he definitely come back from it, and bigger and better than ever.
Yeah, I think he tore each quad separate times. Yeah. And then they were in Saudi Arabia where he tore a pec, I believe. That was just in the last couple of years.
Oh, man.
So he's
I
had
got hurt
some
when
bad
I
ones.
came back. NWA was way too big, Joel Bateman. Young Rock starts back up tonight. If you've not watched it, Rick Brooks talking about, if you've not watched it, tremendous show. And please don't worry about that the Junkyard Dog was never really in that point in time. He was never really there. I believe Tony Alice might have been, and that's just they just put
Swapped
them
him out.
Yeah.
Keep from mentioning Tony Atlas because Tony will come after him.
Randy,
Yeah, it's not 100% factual. It's entertainment. So
yes, right. So don't just get into that thinking he wasn't Randy Savage, wasn't there? He was in. Just let that go at this point and just enjoy it because I think it's well done. The show is really done superbly. Maybe if NWA get TV again, I don't know. I think you're trying to go backwards in time, and I just don't think the National Wrestling Alliance means anything anymore. And I've tried to watch the show. I did watch a little bits and pieces of it, and there's just something missing there. And as Rodney's right, the commentary is partly the problem.
It's
I think
hard
the
to
show would
watch.
be better if you just didn't have commentary.
It's hard.
Just let the people watch the show without commentary. I think
I had to let the commentary roll for Raw before we come on tonight, and I'm thinking I just as well to go ahead and turn it off because it was awful. I'm standing in there and I'm trying to fix me something to eat and kind of throwing up in my throat every time I'm hearing them commentate.
The NWA Studio show reboot in 2019 was a lot of fun to watch. After COVID halted everything in 2020, they just never have gotten rolling again. It's too much comedy.
Yeah,
that's not what the National Wrestling Alliance is. And newer wrestling fans have no clue even what the National Wrestling Alliance is. I mean, he bought something and nobody really knows what it is unless you're an older wrestling fan. You don't know what that means. You don't understand the significance of the National Wrestling Alliance and how important the National Wrestling Alliance was. It's just Michael Barr, Jack, Brent, and Rodney, as much training as wrestlers go through, mistakes like that, a Big E will and can happen. But there's no use in it because that does not further anything. You're just hurting people. I guarantee if them guys wrestled 7 days a week like the old territory days, most of them would be they wouldn't be able to wrestle in 6 months.
Yeah,
they just do too many moves and take too many risks that you just. And don't get me wrong, Vince will go out there and do that stuff too. So at 74 years old, he may be having a wrestling match with whatever that guy's name is. I don't even know what his name is, but
are you talking about Pat McAfee?
Yeah.
Well, they've already changed that. He's not going to wrestle.
Well, good. I don't think anybody wants to see that. Jason, I'm probably going to have to read this without it being on the. For a short time, there was a Championship Wrestling from Atlanta show taped at Center Stage and airing on Peachtree TV Channel 17 on Saturday nights. They used some Southern Honor guys and other India talent, but it didn't last either. It was fun to see a show taped there again after all the WCW history in that building. Well, that was the one thing that I wanted. When you look at the way wrestling is promoted now, just to promote a small show with 14 guys, 2 referees, a couple of 20 guys total with your ringing out, you're talking $2,000 just to do a small show where you're going to draw 200 people. $2,000. Well, most of these shows are not drawing to the 400 to 500. Most I've seen online is 500, but the majority of them are 20 to 100 to 200 people. So I seen a wrestler. I don't know who he was. I didn't catch his name. I just seen him say, "Hey, promoters, remember, gas is going up for us talent as well." Well, what about the promoter? What about him? He's the one that's putting $2,000 into the show. You're asking for more money when he's not making no money off the $2,000 that he's paying out to begin with. Here's the thing. You get a wrestler that calls himself a star. And this is the problem. You ask a promoter, and we were asked by one wrestler, I want $150. Well, I go watch his tapes and I'll go watch his videos on YouTube. One of them, there's 25 people in the building. Another, there was 50 people in the building. The other was 75 in the people. Now, could you tell me why you think you deserve Why you believe that you would deserve $150 when you couldn't even draw 25 people 3 weeks ago when you wrestled in a town down the road? And then you want to ask me or ask any promoter in this world if there's a promoter out there, watch the matches, and if a guy wants a lot of money and you go watch his videos, and there's 25 people to 100 people sitting in a video, so what? Send that video to him and say, now, why would I pay you this? You have to start somewhere, and most of these people hadn't wrestled a year or two. None of them's proven. They never drew a dime in the wrestling business, but they believe they're worth something. As I was told, they believe they're entitled. Entitled for what? When you paid Bob Armstrong, you knew that Bob Armstrong was going to draw you money. When you paid Tommy Rich had already drew money. So if he asked you for $300, he asked you for $500. Well, you drew the money. But these guys that's asking for this huge amount of money, that's never drew a dime, and then you get on Facebook and say, give me more. Goodness gracious, guys, they're doing the best they can to promote the show and pay you what they're paying you. You need to start not just thinking about me, think about the whole, because that's where our problem was. Everybody only thought of themselves. They never thought about anyone else. What about me? What I can't do my moonsault. I can't do my top rope stuff. No, because it's not about you. And that's what's happened in the wrestling business to this point. It's all about them. And it wasn't about that. Pat Rhodes, when he was on a card, he knew that he was on first or second match. He knew what he needed to do in that first or second match. Tommy Rich was on the main event. He knew what he needed to do, and he made sure that he did what he needed to do. But he did. The guy on the first match didn't do everything under the sun. So there's the problem with today's wrestling. Years ago, if you were not coming into a territory wrestling a year or two, asking Jim Barnett for $200 a night. First of all, he would have booked you. He would have said to you, he would have laughed at you and said, come on now, you've never drew the money. Steve-O didn't come into Atlanta and ask for money. He said, this is your guarantee at $65, and you either work it or you'll go somewhere else. It was $65 a night. Now, Dusty Rhodes coming into town, he drew a lot of money. So Dusty say, baby, I got to have $1,000. Guess what? Dusty got the $1,000 because he could draw the money.
And his trance paid and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. They took care of him. Same with the world champion. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just hard to look at what people believe they're entitled to.
Well, what you were talking about with the gas goes back to what we were talking about. They get the booking for whatever amount. They wait till right up till about 10 days, 2 weeks before the show, and then they start. Oh, I'm going to have more money now. I'm going to be showed up. They know your advertisement's out. They got you. They think they've got you. And some of us decide just to cancel the show.
Well, I'm just not, it's not, anything you do, you should be fair. Everything should be fair to you. But if you're a new wrestler starting up, make sure you get your gas money.
Let me ask you this.
Just dollars.
Did we not have verbal agreement with each one to come for a certain amount? Okay. So it comes up, they go back on their word. Was that not the point? They go back on their word and then start wanting more right before the show comes up. So they went back on their initial promise, the verbal contract. And that is that is typical. And it's not the first time that's been ran. It's been ran over and over again.
I think it must be an ongoing.
Even when Wrestle Birmingham, the same thing happened kind of down there. Same exact MO with and these people. I mean, Miss Marks, very honest lady up front. She wanted to have them there, and they would do that to her, and it's just unbelievable.
What's sad is, right now, there's a lot of people promoting wrestling, but there is going to come a time that there's not going to be, because people had their money saved up from the 2 years that they didn't get to run or they didn't want to run, and that money will run out. And there's going to be other promoters, and you're going to get exactly what you want. You can sit at home, because there's not going to be no promoters because they're going to run out of their money that they've saved up, and they're not going to be there. And you'll go get you can stay at home for $150. So most of these people are probably not even making $150 a day in their regular work, but they want that to come to a show, and it's just
I would have never, honestly, and in all the years that we promoted, whether it was with Terry Gordy, Bob Armstrong, Archie Goley, Mongolian Stomper, once they gave you the price and say, okay, you agreed to it, that was written. I mean, that there was no change in it. They came for what, and they did put 100% in. I never had an issue with Bob or Terry Gordy or Jack when they said that they would do something and they would come for that price. They didn't get there and say, "Oh, by the way, hold us up. We're gonna have to have more money before we go out there." Never.
How about that happen? And I said, "Well, I guess you just ain't gonna come out today.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to go home."
That's just
Because you do it once, they'll always think you're going to do it. So down the line, who will purchase the WWE, Jack?
We talked about this here a while back. I don't know. Disney, Time Warner Media, whoever's going to get the most bang for their buck out of it. I would say Time Warner Media right now, since they already have the deal and they're making money with the WWE Network on Peacock.
Yeah.
So I think they see.
So you mean NBC Universal though?
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I was thinking Warner Media is HBO, and they may be doing stuff with AEW, which would help them greatly.
Right.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yeah, I really don't know. It's who knows what's going on there. We did find out some very interesting things, and just in the last couple of months, we found out that just possibly all the blame that Vince McMahon gets for the talent's not completely his fault. That he tried to get them to do something different, and he just couldn't get anything different out of them. So I think he's being blamed a lot of times for stuff that's not really his fault. He just says, "Well, what am I supposed to do about it? I keep firing." That was what Co-Brother Circus, the owner of Co-Brother Circus, he said, "Well, I just fired the guy." He said, "Well, if I fired everybody that didn't do what they're supposed to do, I'd have nobody working for me."
That's exactly what he said.
And so, I guess you just you got to be. Or will there be another promotion? Well, they are AEW, and they ain't going anywhere. They got the money.
Yeah, they got money. They're going to be here.
Joel Bateman says NWA might get big. I hope they do. I don't know. Glenn Allen said it was botched. That's what he meant when he was talking about that. Anita said, "Hello, how you doing, Anita?" Victor Nash is with us. Victor Nash, hey yo, rest in peace to the bad guy. Hope you guys are well. Glenn Allen Shelton said both legs.
That's for Triple H.
Yeah,
I know. I think didn't Vince McMahon do the same thing?
Yeah, he did. He is when he was running into the ring about that finish with, I think it was Batista and Cena at the Royal Rumble, and when he went to slide in and caught his quads on the actual edge of the ring and tore both of them at the same time.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Wow. Oh, that had to hurt. Now heart issues, with Triple H. Yeah. That was just probably because they put what's that guy's name, Nick Khan, in that position. Probably heart issues, broken heart. That's what it's from. Broken heart from all that. But by the way, that Nick Khan got a great deal with a bunch of the. I guess it's with lottery commissions all over the world, basically, and they're going to have WWE wrestlers doing the plug-in for some of them. And I guess they're going to be some WWE scratch offs or something like that. So I think it's because Nick Gunn gets a lot of deals for them. Hello, Victor and Richard. Michael Barr. Why is the WWE trying to bring back some of the older wrestlers? Because that's the only guys that were over, such as Bill Goldberg, Steve Austin, and Edge. Jack?
That's it. They have created no great superstars in almost 20 years now.
Yep.
Rodney?
That's exactly it. Exactly. Because you don't have any stars of your own, because You have them on the TV every single week. They're not stars anymore. They're just simply not.
Yeah. Anita, rest in peace. Scott Hall said, Rodney, I agree about the NWA. They're making a joke out of it. Glenn Allen Shelton, they still have drawing power. Michael, I think he's talking about Bill Goldberg, Steve Austin, and the Edge. I don't think Steve Austin's going to wrestle, though. I think he pretty well put the kibosh to that one.
Well, Jim Ross said he's not real happy with what they wanted to do. So,
well, they probably want him to do the Hurricanrana off the top rope onto a table, through the ring to the floor, and a trap door opens, and he goes all the way down to the basement.
I think the mention was inverted pile driver.
now I have heard, I did hear that WrestleMania was going to be limited on what he would do, but that it could be a setup to come back and actually have a bigger match, probably at SummerSlam,
Wow.
an
All right.
actual match. So,
I mean, it would be. I would watch it.
oh, I would too.
I would watch it. So
I loved the video they did with Steve Austin was awesome.
I think it
really
all
was.
hinges on how well this plays out this time, and if because he's if he can't do it at a high level, he's not going to do it. He's just not. He doesn't have to. He has to prove it to himself.
Yeah.
And if he's not doing that, he don't care because he took care of his money and he's made money since he left.
Could it be building up to a
he's saying $200? I'm guessing that's what he
could
means.
it, could it be building up for a tag match though?
Possibly. And I think that would be the best way to help him.
Right.
In that.
Tracy Smothers, 250. I'm guessing he's saying it's $250. I mean, but Tracy has drew money in the wrestling business, so if he asks for $250, at least he's asking.
Well, here's the thing, and this is something I learned from Tracy. You can't make money sitting at home. So if they're not going to guarantee you a whole lot of money, and you don't think you're over enough to be able to go sell T-shirts and pictures and make money, then you probably don't need to be doing this.
That does make some sense, doesn't it? Glenn, Michael Barr, I believe. Glenn, if they are going to do it as a draw, the WWE should let the older wrestlers wrestle the older wrestlers. I don't know, man. That may be bad.
Yeah, I think you need the younger guys in there to actually be taking majority of the bumps.
Yeah, I like the tag match idea best.
Yeah.
Me have to do autos, no ring. Michael Barr also said, right, Brett, they cannot give any more than they have. The wrestlers knew what he was to do and did it. Glenn Allen Shelton, CSUN wasn't worth hot dogs and Coke.
I told a guy that not long ago.
Listen, I don't think anybody's trying to say that wrestlers shouldn't be took care of. That's not the point. But also look at the promoter's side when you're asking for stuff and you're because if you do it to one, they're going to tell the next one, and then they're going to tell the next one, and then they're going to tell the next one, and they're going to tell the next one before you don't ever get booked ever again, because they won't book you. They'll just get to the point they won't book you. And what good did that do you? What good did it do you to get $25 extra when now nobody wants to use you? But because
and let's be clear about what you're saying. It's not $25 extra. It's $25 extorted. It's taken from you. It is not given willingly. You forced it to work. And so that's wrong.
Richard Hood, guys should know on the independent circuit that they may not get paid considered who they are and how many people are in the seats. Is that hard for people to understand, Jack? Is that hard for a wrestler? Because you deal with them more than we have.
It is today because there's a prevailing attitude out there among independent wrestlers that everybody needs to be paid big money. And now here's where I would agree. If the promotion is making money, then the wrestlers definitely need to be paid well.
Yes.
But if the promoter is having to pay out everything that comes in off the gate, he ain't going to last long.
No.
He's going to give up. I mean, I know literally 2 or 3 people that's got a little money, so they don't care if they make money. But those people are hard to find, and usually they don't have very good shows anyway.
Yeah, that's true. And and most of the time, because they have all that big money, they
Uh,
don't want to pay anybody.
so if you come up with you get a budget, you've come up with a budget, you've negotiated with the wrestlers 6-8 weeks out. Okay, this is the money that you've allotted for that show. In many cases, there is no more money.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless the show draws, there is no more money. So that's what we got. That's what we have in the pocket. That's what we can pay. When they get there, that's what you promised that you'd work for. You get your money that you were promised, because there is no more. There is not $1. There's not a $10. You've got your money tied up because eight weeks ago you put together your budget. You've got your money together. So you come up 2 weeks before the show, you've spent out on for rent, insurance, advertising, and now you've come up and I've got to have $25 more. I got to have $50 more. There is no other money because your money is invested in the show you've got.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excuse me, I need to
Well, yeah, I'm just saying,
give it a
all I
hold on
want
just
people
a
to
minute.
do is understand, if you're a
After
wrestler,
last week, I had
understand
to
the
calm down.
promoter side of it. And I tell you what you do: sit down, call a building, see how much advertising. By the way, to really advertise it right, you need $3 per person you're trying to get in the building. Remember that when you're doing your budgeting. But figure out how much your rent is, how
That
much your
depends on market as well.
as you would be running the show. And I guarantee you wouldn't hit the people up for money, because you'd say, well, I can see where they're coming from now. Put yourself in their shoes and then figure it out.
Well, not only just that. No, you agreed to this amount. Honor your agreement.
Yes.
Honor your agreement. Because you come up and you ruin everything for everybody coming up 5 minutes or 5 days before the show and say, oh, by the way, I can't come unless I get such and such amount. There's no more. There's just no more there.
Will professional wrestling get as big as it was in the 70s? No, it will not. Do y'all agree with that?
I totally agree.
The reason WWF became the major company they were, and 10 to 20 million people sometimes was watching their show, is because they came off the territory system, and they had local TV in every one of those markets. And a lot of times they took a lot of the wrestlers that were the mainstream wrestlers that were from the territories, put it on their TV shows, so the people would say, hey, I know the Junkyard Dog, I know Jake the Snake Roberts, I know Ted DiBiase, and it helped them take that group of fans into them. No one's doing that now. And I don't think you can do the things you do on television and the things that they do and continue doing it over and over again. And you got to have a story. You got to tell a story. And you cannot tell a story if you come off the top of the ring, the top of the rope to a triple somersault, hit a table and get back up. Where are you going to go from there? There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go. Gas was in the guarantee. Well, it should always, you should always figure that is. But at the same time, show the promoter that you've actually drew some money somewhere. If I watch your YouTube videos and I see 20 people in the building and you're wanting $100, why do I pay you $100 when you couldn't even draw? You've worked for 10 years and I've watched your videos for 10 years and I've never seen people on your videos. Come on now, tell me how you can ask me for more money. I would have been happy with what I got, and later on down the road in the future, that then ask for a little more. Yes, that's how you do it. Once you.
Well, Michael, honestly, if you say, okay, Rodney, I'll come work for you and this is how much I need, and okay, I agree with that. Do you come up a day before, call me up and say, oh, I've just redone my figures, I can't do it, I can't be there now? That's what we're running into.
Yeah. Bad promoters ruin it for the good ones, and they are
exactly right. Oh yeah,
there's some bad promoters. There's no doubt about that. We'll disagree with that. We've seen them. They think are the boss get by with anything. They think they're the boss get by with anything. Not for sure what that means.
the wrestlers think they're the bosses and they can get by with anything.
Yeah, I believe that's the truth. And they want to go get their stuff in. We were told that more than once, by the way. They want to get their stuff in. You can't tell a story if you're just trying to get your stuff in. It'll never get over if you just want
Well,
to tell.
that's what. Excuse me. I'm going to go back. That's what you negotiate at the beginning of the contract. And if you say to this, okay, this is what I have to do, and this is what I need to come for. Okay, if I agree to that, then there should be no issue. But that is not what we agreed to. We had a very specific direction we wanted to go, and supposedly everybody knew it. Everybody knew it.
Well, we told everybody it was going to be old school wrestling. Maybe they didn't know what that meant. Maybe going back to it. So I can tell you what.
It got right down to it is you're not going to tell me what to do. That's what it is.
Yeah.
If I had a microphone, I'd just drop it right there. Excuse me.
Sell gimmicks.
Let me get this off here.
Sell gimmicks for Tracy. Yeah. So I got into it with Tracy one time, and after that, we were very good friends after that. And
I heard that whole argument was very entertaining.
Very on his price, by the way. No pity for Vince. He destroyed the careers of a lot of WCW. I don't know if he was the one that destroyed them. I think because if you look at Booker T come from WCW, and look at the star he made him become. I think the people who just came there, if they didn't have it, they didn't have it. And listen to Jim Ross's podcast; he will just tell it like it is. And he was there; he knows. Listen to his podcast; he will say most of the time it was not something we did; it was something they did. I think Vince gets blamed for a lot of things that was never his fault, like killing people's territories. The territory owners did that on their own, and Vince had nothing to do with it. For the show, we used to have money for talent. Gate was probably for show. We used to have money for talent.
Yeah, it's exactly right. You had your money for the talent. The gate was what you made. And if there was no profit there, there's just no profit. You just took a bath. And
how many times?
And we've been in the shower many times.
How many times have we promoted shows and left and said, well, that was about a $500 loss today.
Well, we got a few of those.
We got a $200 loss.
Yeah, we had a few Waffle House conversations about that.
Oh,
didn't we?
Oh my gosh. That Waffle House was very depressing that night. Boy. We worked our tails off all day.
We lost $1,200 in Dalton, Georgia at the Trading Convention Center. There was a huge storm that came up. I mean, that thing was horrible. Tornado warnings everywhere. It almost knocked the lights out in the building, and it just was horrible. We lost $1,200. It's just got to understand as a promoter. I remember sitting at the Armstrong's table and at Adrian Streets at house shows. They knew how to promote their gimmicks. Yes, they did. And Adrian really did.
Yes, he did.
Meant the stuff, by the way. He had good stuff. Rodney, and there were wrestlers that became bookers and took the money for the wrestlers and ran off with it. There's stories about, I know people hear stories about that, but that didn't happen often, by the way, because it couldn't happen in the territory days, because the bookers didn't own the territory. So we'll have to talk about how the territories were, how they were. They did change in the late 80s, okay? Territories changed in the late 80s, but prior to that, they were very strictly ran, and really, you'd be very, very hard pressed to be a booker of a territory and go take the money because you wasn't even touching the money, so you couldn't have got it.
Right.
So
we have a very special guest right here. Hold on just a minute.
Just wanted to drop in. Need you to call me when you're not busy the next day or two, Jerry Stubbs. We'll give you a call, Jerry.
Thank you, Jerry.
What do we need to call you, Jerry?
Always Mr. Perfect to you, sir.
Jerry can tell you about wrestling for Jim Barnett. He didn't go ahead and tell Jim Barnett, hey, Jim Barnett, by the way, you give me $200, I ain't gonna wrestle. Jim Barnett said, my boy, I guess you're not wrestling. You're just not wrestling today. Let's see. Vince Stone all of AWA talent. I don't
Now,
think he stole them.
yeah, you don't steal nothing. They came and worked for him. They probably called him. It wasn't like he was standing out on the street corner. "Psst, hey, wrestlers, come in. Let me talk to you for a second." And then he hit him in the head and kidnapped him. Oh,
Here's
they
the
called
thing:
him.
is business was going down for the territories.
Yeah.
Maybe the promoters didn't want to admit it, but the guys who depended on that to pay their bills could see it. So when Vince is going up and he's starting to say, hey, let me give you a job. Let me make sure, you're going to get this much money. They're going to go.
Yeah.
I don't blame them.
No.
Every promoter had the opportunity to do what Vince did, but they would not change their business model. They would not adapt to the times. Do I like what WWE does now? I do not, but I understand why they are where they are and why they do what they do, because the aspect of the business, what people like to watch changed. I would still prefer watching 70s wrestling. I don't know that 70s wrestling would fill up major arenas anymore. I think there's still a market for it, but Vince did what, basically he saved the business. Whether we want to admit that or not, everything else went out of business. It wasn't Vince really putting the foot to the head. It was them refusing to change the way that they had always done it. And Vince just took the lead and never looked back.
Yeah. And by the way, he did not guarantee people money. He was not guaranteeing you. He would tell you, this is what a guy's making that's going to be in your position.
Yep.
So you're going to make a whole lot more than probably what you're making there. And here's the merchandise. This is the merchandise thing we got. Vern ain't giving you none of it. So I mean, he was a better business person. Just all there is. And we know a lot of territories and why they went out of business had nothing to do with Vince, unfortunately.
Well,
all right, let's
anytime any other territory was hot, the phone rang off the wall of wrestlers wanting to come there.
Because they knew they were making money. They seen the crowds. They knew they was going to make money. Yeah. If selling gimmicks, that there was because even back in the WWF days, they were paid on a percentage of the gates. By the way, folks, they were not guaranteed any money. They were paid off if you didn't draw it, you didn't make it. Yep. That's just the way it was. If selling gimmicks, there were the gas money that come from. Yes, I thought it was always a little bad though, especially in Continental when Jerry Stubbs was the heel, and he wasn't making any of that gimmick money, but he was putting Danny Davis and all them guys over, and he was making them look like $1 million, and he was not making any portion of that. That was a little unfair. I always thought it was. I think we even talked about that several times of being unfair. By the way, Rodney Branjack, speaking of buildings, the old farm center in Dothan, the land has been sold and it's going to be torn down. So it is going to be torn down. That's sad. That's good. It's going to be a loss. That's some great times there. Good evening, everyone. I'm very late. Jack, get his name. Michael's late. And we have not did fines for a while. So we need to fine him. And make sure we get, because we need we need the money. We lost we lost some money off this show he's going to promote. So we need some money for that. So Jack, you can put that in the till. Hello, all. Been a while posting, but I'm back. You should already know before you even leave the house. Well, the PO is the payoff is, etc. You want to change the game later on? There's the door. Don't let it hit you on the way out.
Mr. Kemp hit the nail right on the head right there.
Yeah.
He just mic dropped right there.
I'd have run anyway with changes and tell the fans why. And like before, we seem to keep it, hushed. Hush, it seems it's all online anyway. Expose them for being idiots. I don't think we have to expose anybody for being idiots. I think they'll eventually just be there. Still, it will catch up to you, and that's all there is to it. It'll get to you. I wonder what they're going to build there. Does anybody know what they're building at the farm center? I wonder what that's going to be. Going to miss the historic building. All right. Are they going to close down the whole farm center area? Are they getting rid of all of it? Somebody let us know if they're getting rid of all of it. Let's see. Gallon of gas, 2004, $4.29 a gallon, 1997 guy cost.
Okay. Here's what we forget about that. inflation, cost of living, everything else increased. What $1 a gallon back then is the equivalent to $5.27 a gallon now. So it was actually higher back then. Remember, the mid '70s is when we had that first big gas wars going on.
Yeah.
And prices, people waiting in line. You had certain, whatever your last name was, had to coincide with certain dates, and that's when you could get gas. Because this is when I learned to drive, so I remember this vividly. And I remember one of my first jobs, was pumping gas when I was 16 years old, 1975, and it was $1 a gallon. And at the station I worked for, I made $40 a week, and all the gas I could burn, and I made sure he went in the hole every week because I could burn some gas when I was 16 years old.
By the way, Jerry Stubbs made sure to let everyone know that's Mr. Perfect. and Michael, he also said he was doing good. Let's see, Richard Hood. Vince brought wrestling to prime time, but having talent in movies and on late night on TV shows. Yes, he did a little different. I'll say this. Fact is, Vince was 2 months of closing WWF in 1998. WCW was kicking his butt. He was going through a lot of, but at the same time, he's going through the steroid problem as well. So I think that was part of it.
A lot of factors in there.
Let's see. Dennis Mitchell, Rodney and Brent, Jack, do you have any good stories about Scott? Would they say bring it and don't sing it in NWO with Scott? He would say we are too sweet. I saw on YouTube Dusty Rhodes versus Tournament match at the Omni in Atlanta. Let's see.
Yeah, we were probably there with you on that one.
Yes, we were probably there.
Awesome.
The chair in the ring. We're beat it up. Dusty, the cops came in. Rodney, it was both of you. We probably were there.
Right there. Yeah, we went to all the ones for Dusty and Terry.
You know what? I didn't hang around Scott Hall. I've seen him maybe 3 or 4 times, and he was in Continental. Didn't even know he was there. So he came for Dusty Rhodes for Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling a few times. He worked for Dusty in Dothan and a couple other places. He was very nice, but I can't tell any stories with him because I didn't do much with him. Yeah. How about y'all?
Same with me. I met him a couple of times. Really didn't even have a detailed conversation with him. He's really nice.
Let's see here. Bishop, hey, we hadn't heard from Bishop Michael Nesby in a while. Good evening to the gurus of wrestling and its history. Michael Barr, Mike Woody, and Mike Murphy have an organization up in Kentucky that is doing well. Excellent. Do y'all know about that? Mm-hmm. It's traditional Southern wrestling. Never have seen it. Let's see. Brandy Davis said 1975, Jack, was a good year.
Because she was born that year.
Let's see. Brett, the land and building for the farm center is selling. It will be sold to a private contractor, so they don't know what it's going to be yet.
Condos.
Oh, he need to talk to you about Dothan, Alabama in July.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. We'll set that up as soon as possible.
Road trip for me, Rodney, and Jack.
Yeah.
As long as we don't have to be promoters, then we're all right. Let's see. We'll do 2 more, and then we've got to get off there. Guys, what do you feel that is truly missing aside from storylines, angles, and which current promotion could change that and thrive? I think they're doing too much. They're just doing too much. If I watch one week and I watch the next week, I'm thinking, did I not just see this show last week? And I quit watching it. I try to watch it. I try to get into it, but there's no story to me. And then AEW is like watching a 1 week. I mean, Matt Hardy was a bad guy, was a heel, and then all at once he becomes this nice guy. Like over one show, I'm thinking, wait a minute. Jeff Hardy comes out there, and instead of just helping his brother, he has to wait for his music, and he had to do a little dancing before he came out there. That's just the kind of stuff that just is lost in translation. And so then you wonder why you go from 1.1 to 900,000 because those 300,000 say this crap makes no sense. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. And I want to like it. I want to like it, but I can't. Jack?
Well, the biggest thing missing is storytelling. I can almost handle some of the stuff they do in the ring if you would give me a story behind it. Make me believe. If you can do that, any company that can start to understand that, I think could be a major company.
Yeah. Rodney, what do you think?
As long everybody's got Vince McMahon on the brain, no one's going to go with that right now. You've got to have somebody that's their main purpose for creating a company to do what the Bishop wants to do. And I agree with you.
Everybody is doing, hey, I'm going to do the same thing Vince is doing, but I'm going to do it better than him.
Right.
And they're not.
No. I have to admit, and we've talked about this many times, but did I not hear Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens were best friends? And we all know that is code for I'm about to turn on you.
Yes.
And guess what? He did.
You know,
so predictable.
One of the problems I think is going on in wrestling, I think there's too much wrestling. Is there such thing as too much wrestling?
Yeah, I definitely think you can get an oversaturation of that.
I mean, because you've got AEW now, you're probably going to have Ring of Honor show up somewhere on a maybe even TBS. Who knows? I mean, there's what 17 hours of what we call big time wrestling, if you wanted to call it that.
Then you've got WOW coming back. You've got New Japan with a new TV deal for America. You've got Impact Wrestling. You got the NWA. I mean, you literally could probably sit down every evening and watch a new show.
Yeah. So, and we're going to try at some point to talk about most of those. It's going to be hard because I can't stomach to watch it for a very long period of time. But there's a lot out there, and I think there could be some changes. Is there going to be changes? No. And I'll end this with what a guy told us. He said, unfortunately, in 2022, no wrestlers are being trained to be professional wrestlers. They're just being trained to be basically stuntmen. He said there's no storytelling. There's no wrestling. He said back in the 1970s, he wanted a show for the 1970s. He said the guys are not being trained in the way they were in the 1970s. The wrestling that you see today is exactly the way the wrestlers are going to be. He said, unfortunately, they're not trained that way. And if you want to promote wrestling, guess what? What you see on TV is what you get. Would you be happy with that? The answer to that question was no. Would not be happy with that. Because I think there's more. I think there could be more. But the wrestlers, unfortunately, are not trained to be professional wrestlers. Jack, is that a true statement from the guy? They're not being trained to be professional wrestlers.
Yeah. In fact, I just made a statement on my Facebook right before we came on, which has got a ton of comments, so I must have hit a nerve. But I said, for me, the saddest thing about today's pro wrestling is that many wrestlers don't understand the difference between popping the fans and connecting with them.
And that's what Bishop was just talking about right there. He hit the nail right on the head. Yeah. Not connecting in any
It's
form.
just sad.
And I'm yeah.
It is sad that what we know of professional wrestling is just gone. And until someone with millions and millions of dollars decides, I want to bring back pro wrestling, because he said you have to train the wrestlers of today to be wrestlers.
And they have to be there for that purpose. Absolutely.
And at this point, he said there's none. So either promote it that way or don't promote it at all. Sad commentary in today's professional wrestling. But that's where we're in these days. Jack, any final comments before we leave?
Yes, we will actually do the top 100 list next time.
That is right.
I forgot all about it. We got into a soapbox tonight and talked about the Scott Hall too. So that was more important than the top.
Yeah, I think so. And we'll get back to that.
Rodney, any final comments? Until next
I think we've complained enough tonight. We'll be back tomorrow. Next week to do it even again.
And we even took a little longer to complain tonight. If you'll notice, we're at 8.
We burned the internet completely up.
Almost an hour and 10 minutes today.
Yeah, we'll be back. Same insider time, same insider channel.
See y'all next week right here on Pro Wrestling Inside Now.